Hi, I'm Amandeep Beesla, and welcome to Between Two Cranes, a podcast on safety culture and innovation. Today, my co-host is Gabe Guetta, co-founder and CEO of Salus, a former construction worker turned tech leader who's leading the safety culture movement for the construction industry. We're going to peel back the safety net and dive into the conversations people aren't having when it comes to health and safety, but maybe they should. In today's episode, we're talking about the future of safety. How do we merge and mesh construction health and safety with new and developing technologies? Let's do this. We're talking about future of safety. We're talking about, 20, 30 years ago when we first, 20
Talk
years
to me.
ago when we
Tell me
first
about it.
started in construction.
30 years ago? You didn't start
20 years ago. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, so 20 years ago.
Not me, 15, but
Okay, sure, 15.
17. 15 and a half. 17. Okay, 17 years.
We started
dating myself.
a decade or a couple decades
a while ago.
So how it was like then, and
Yeah.
let's talk about everything, like having your safety management systems, having PPE, having the safety culture. So all of that, and now let's look at not the present. Okay, let's look at the present for just a minute, but we're going to talk about the future.
Make up your mind, Amandeep.
Talk about the present, what's going on, how there's been this huge shift. We talk about things such as substance abuse and mental health and resilience and like having all those conversations and opening it up. And we have a younger workforce coming in. So that's the present and then the future. And let's not forget there's technology.
Right.
So there are certain tools and apps, so safety platforms, and you're checking in if you're a lone worker, or GPS, or hey, I'm not sure how to do this. I'm gonna just YouTube it. Hopefully not. Hopefully there's practices, but we're like, I forgot how to do this. Yeah, look it up or whatever. Yeah. Because we never had any of that.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We had tough phones on. Wow.
Yeah. Those big brick phones.
Well,
that
you
could
had
just...
the big brick phones. I didn't.
Okay.
I had the flip phones, and then they were the mic phones, and then we took a long time to get a BlackBerry, and then we got.
Did you ever have a pager?
I never had a pager.
Okay,
No.
I had a pager.
You had a pager.
Yeah.
Well, you were a lot cooler than me. That's the only reason I didn't have a pager.
I had a lot of friends back then.
Yeah.
I think I still do, but yeah.
They all still have pagers.
Hopefully not.
Okay, so what you want me to do is talk about the past. Okay, no, I'm kidding. Future and present. So, well, I know we always talk a lot about what it was like, but let's give some kudos to what it is now. I feel like just this conversation is nuance. I mean, this was not nobody cared to have this conversation 15 years ago. It wasn't happening. At least some people might have been talking about it, but not in the world that I lived in. I don't know. You were in oil and gas, so you guys were a lot farther ahead than we were.
Feels like I went back in time almost when I came back to BC.
Oh, we're going from Alberta to BC.
Yeah. Alberta is like up here notches.
Yeah.
And then when I came back here, I was told on some of the sites, hey, you got to bring it down a couple of notches.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What's going on? What's happening?
Bring it down.
Bring it down, tone it down. Yeah. I'm like, we
don't know what that is.
Yeah. I'm like, we're progressing, we're evolving.
Yeah.
This is the future is now.
Stop yelling at everyone, Amandeep.
Yeah. I was like, passionate.
It's funny because in you still see this today. Like we have customers in Alberta that are like a 5-person pool maintenance facility.
Yeah.
That just goes to homeowners' pools, maintaining chemical balance and all this stuff in bigger pools. And they're like a 12-person company. I forget, maybe I said a 5-person just 5 minutes ago, but they're about 12 people. And full core compliant, full everything, daily hazard assessments, all of the above. But you go in BC and that will be non-existent for that size company and that demographic of the industry. And so it is like going back in time from province to province to country. And I feel like Australia is much farther ahead than Canada is and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting, but at the same time, and that's interesting because we're talking about I'm probably going to butcher this, but we're talking about the present in many different forms of future and past. if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
does make sense.
Australia, different provinces
I like
where
that.
we're going.
Yeah.
Time isn't necessarily...
Future and past. I think there's an X-Men. Anyway.
Time isn't necessarily
past.
relevant when you're looking at different, like in terms of geographics. So different jurisdictions, right?
Yeah.
So like I think even societies, different societies, when it comes to health and safety and construction, they progress further or more faster than others do.
And I think when you hit a tipping point, all of a sudden you're just like running full speed.
Yeah.
Now the perspective is, are you running full speed uphill or downhill? Like some people think we're going the wrong direction, some people think we're going the right direction.
Yeah.
But let's focus on the positive.
Yes.
So some of the things that I think I can pull out of the industry as a positive, I'm going to speak first to the breaking down of the, what is it called again? The stigma around mental health. And more people are starting to, slightly more people at a field level are starting to talk, but more people around the industry or above or in the upper management or whatever are starting to talk about the issue, because the fact that suicide is such a high killer in our industry is so sad. There's still, I believe, I'm going to use the word toxic masculinity aspect to it, where people feel like I'm in an industry made up of tough men and men don't talk about these things. And at the end of the day, that kills. And I think it's sad. I think it's brutal. I personally dealt with mental illness when I was young. I went to a counselor when I was 11 years old. And I struggled through that, and I didn't know even what I was dealing with. And I actually went, and even going through a counselor, I wasn't really diagnosed with what I had. I actually read what I had, which is a form of OCD. When I was 30 years old, I read about it in something in a hockey magazine. A goalie, forget the name of the goalie, he dealt with this his entire life. Wow. And it really screwed him up in his career and everything like that. And he described what he had and what he was thinking and all the things that he was struggling with. And I'm like, fuck, that's what I have. And I remember just crying when I read it. Oh. And it took me 17 or a long time, 12 to 30 when I read it, however long that is. I'm not going to do math right now. It took me that long to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can focus more on because I never talked about it.
Yeah.
I talk a lot. I talk a lot about a lot of things. You guys know that. But I never talked to anyone about that. And because it was so scary. It's in your head. It's like whatever it may be. You don't think people are going to identify or they're going to think you're crazy.
I think it goes back to the stigma because even when I was younger, I was going through a messy divorce and I just felt like I was losing my mind. I had nobody in my corner and I started seeing a counselor, but I would always, I never told anybody. So I would always say, oh, I'm going to go run errands or, oh, I have a doctor's appointment.
Right.
And I was just so scared because I was like, what are people going to think of me? Like people look at you and they put you on this pedestal and they think you're a solid person and they look up to you and like the pressure is on.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. You could be the strongest person in the world and you still have shit that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
Right. And now and I still see a counselor once in a while when I need to.
That's awesome.
And I tell people, I'm like, hey, just like you go to the gym to work out, it's the same thing. You need to take care of your mental health.
Yep.
Right. And everyone has struggle. And so one of my cousins was telling me that suicide is actually more common and prevalent in men than it is in women. And unfortunately, in construction, we have so many men that don't speak out because there is still that whole persona around you need to be big and tough, but you don't.
Yeah.
And I give kudos to, there's different organizations, so such as Scott Construction, Jacob Brothers, where they actually have mental health programs and initiatives, and they actually have platforms where they encourage their workers to speak out.
That's awesome.
And again, social media, using social media, putting it out there, using different platforms and just making it known. The BCCSA, they just recently came out with a resource around mental health as well. Australia, they have groups and initiatives, and they've progressed. They have a lot going on in terms of mental health and recognizing it and what it looks like and giving people the tools to deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting, and thanks for sharing. That's great, because I think it's something that we take for granted. Our brain, our mind, we focus on what are we eating, are we working out, are we doing all these things, and we forget about the pressure that builds up, or if you don't eat right and you don't work out, your body's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Well, you could eat right, you could work out, and your body's in shape, but if you're not paying attention to what you're building up in your mind, and there's no way of, you go through so much stuff in your life. So much stuff. Yeah. Life is not easy. We were just talking about this before. Life is difficult. You're going to come across obstacles, whether you're young, whether you're middle-aged, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, whether you just went through whatever, loss, whatever it may be, you're going to deal with shit. And then there's the shit. That's all stuff that comes. And then there's stuff that's just happening in your internal mind battles.
Yeah.
That you're just dealing with on your own.
All that self-talk. With
this thing that's in your brain, whatever it might be, whatever the thing that you're struggling with. And I hate, when I was 10 and 11, 12, I think is when I was in counseling. But I would have fallen apart if my parents ever told anyone that I went to counseling at that age. It would have destroyed me. Yeah. Which is so sad, because it was so powerful for me as a human being to develop to who I am today, to have that foundation under me at such a young age. When you're going through so much emotional transformation around puberty, to be able to have that in your corner is so important. But schools are getting better, much, much better at identifying that. But as a society, it needs to get better. At all levels, it needs to get better. And because depending on what industry you go in, it's almost like you're going into a different parental system, going from your parents into your work and friends' parental system. You're influenced by. Yeah. And work is just another portion. What culture are you entering in that workforce? Is it a culture that is just sheltered, that you have your vertical, stay in your lane, do your job, and shut up and just do what you're supposed to do? Or is it something that's more open to ask somebody, how are they doing? Not how are you doing, and my work and this, and how are you doing today? How are you doing? And most people, they'll stop and think and be like, fuck, you know what? Maybe I'm not okay. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Or maybe we'll be like, you know what? I'm great. Thanks for asking. Whatever it is, just stop and remember we're human beings. Because none of this matters. None of anything we're doing matters if it means that we're not having a fulfilled life. You're going to go through your whole life, work your whole life, and look back and remember that you worked and that you hated your life the whole time, right? So break it. Stop the routine. Stop the Groundhog Day. Yeah. Anyways, we're going down a passionate rabbit hole there.
Very much so.
And so, going to another level of the future of construction, I think that's a huge aspect of the kind of overall shift. But I think there's other shifts, not that have to happen, that we're also kind of on the path to. So one of the things is around just knowledge of, or collaboration around change, or collaboration around progressing knowledge around incidents. So what I know those are all very weird words that sound like they don't really tie together and make sense.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
What I'm getting at is, I was actually, this is interesting, I had a chiropractor appointment today and a massage, based on the fact that I was saying I'm in front of a computer and all I do is look down, supposedly. And the guy was an aircraft mechanic turned RMT.
No way.
Crazy. And we had an incredible conversation.
Nice.
And we were talking about parallels between the body and actual airplanes, and how he's translated the two. And one thing we started talking about was, we saw my background and everything, and we were talking about the airplane industry, where it's a collaborated effort across companies and industries and whatever. If a plane's there and something happens with a plane, on a global stance, we're going to learn what happened and fix it.
Yeah. The aviation industry, they're absolutely brilliant when it comes to setting aside their competitive differences and looking at an issue or an incident as collective peers.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And so maybe at a top level in the construction industry, workers, comp, and everything like that is collaborating. But at a trade level, there's no collaboration. So, example, and I've used this before, windows have fallen in Vancouver off high-rises during installation. I remember one that happened during my tenure, and it was a fairly significant one. Nobody died. But to this day, I have no idea why it happened, how it was solved from never happening again in the future. And that's in my backyard, in my industry. That's a small industry of window installers. And so how many times is that perfect storm? Because it's never like, oh, well, we didn't do this. It's this happened combined with this and this to create that.
Yeah.
How many times is that happening? You got 2 of the 3 things happening every single day across the world in the window installation world that everyone needed to know is, hey, by the way, if this situation combines with this one, the window will drop, or this could happen, or that, and then we just keep repeating things over and over. And there needs to be a way, and I personally believe digital technology and data can solve that problem by having we're not trying to incriminate anyone. Who cares who was responsible, but what happened, and share that knowledge across within minutes so that you know what happened, why it happened, the elements around it that caused it across an entire global trade specific. Don't show drywallers, hey, did you know what happened with the window installers today? They don't care.
Yeah.
Focus on the trade and make change that way. And that's, one small factor.
Yeah, and communicate that.
Yeah.
What an idea.
Yeah.
That's
How about you?
brilliant
What's something
concept.
that you feel like you'd love to see changed in the future, or us to move towards in the future?
That's a really good question. I feel that I feel like I'm on this journey right now, and coming into the tech world earlier this year, in terms of like digital safety and how we can actually use technology to our advantage and use it as a tool, right? To streamline processes so that you can have everybody collaborate, like you were saying, have everybody on the same page, and you get buy-in.
Yeah.
Educating your workforce. So
Make
now
safety
that
easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And ease those pains, especially like site safety, where they have a million different things going on. Right?
We lost the picture here.
That's okay.
But
We're
that's
going to
okay.
still keep going with
Shannon Farley's on it.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. She got it.
it. Yeah.
Her
Wizard.
Screensaver kicked in.
But having that approach where now it's not just one piece of paper and you're chasing it around,
Right.
and I was in a meeting with a GC the other day, and they were talking about how the forklift operator, they're filling this out, but then they got to get it into the site office.
Right.
Wouldn't it be much more easier, more brilliant to have that forklift operator halfway across site fill it out on their phone or tablet, submit it, the site safety can see, the office gets it, everybody's in on it, there's buy-in, everybody knows what's going on.
I agree. And I think taking it to the next level from there, imagine a world where right now, on most of the job sites we're seeing in high-rise construction, it's like there's still about 70%, or let's be a little nice, 60% are still pen and paper.
Yeah.
But the other 40% are using 3 different types of software for safety. I'd love a world where not everyone's using the same software. That's my alarm telling me I have to stop talking. Is that they are all connected. Different safety softwares are on the same page. Yes, they're competitors, but have a common ground of integration so that we can all start pooling data and making the field level workers' lives easier, customers and contractors and general contractors' lives easier, and start to together revolutionize the industry, having everyone to come together for the greater good, because we all win in that sense.
Yeah.
So I call out every Salus competitor, come, let's collaborate and integrate. Change the industry.
Drinks on Gabe.
Yeah, no drinks. That's too much. There's too many of them.
Coffee drinks then. I don't know.
Coffee. Yeah.
I like coffee. That's why I say coffee.
Yeah. Yes.
But I love it. Yeah. No, everyone come together. Let's take a more transparent approach. Let's communicate. Let's progress. Right? Workers are workers are workers. It doesn't matter what site you go to.
Exactly.
So let's try and make it easier for the end user.
Yeah, we're only as strong as our weakest link.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come together to fill that chain.
Future of safety. Technology.
Safety.
Yes.
Number 5.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
As we end today's podcast, it would mean the world to me if you'd take 5 seconds and hit the like button. Leave a comment to let us know how we did and show some love. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to explore, tell me about it below. Don't forget to subscribe. One last thing, you're going to want to download our resource on de-risking your business. I'll put the link in the description.
Where's the link?
Over here? Maybe over there? I don't know. Down here or here?